everybody. I am Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today, in about an hour, I'm going to show you how to paint Coraline. Even if you're a very new painter, even if you haven't painted before and you just woke up today and thought, I might like to paint Coraline, I've got you. I'm going to explain every part of this lesson. We have a no draw option, which is that there's in the description below where the materials list and a bunch more information that aids you in your painting journey. There's also a link to a traceable because it's okay to trace. On the mic today is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
John runs our four cameras.
Yeah,
This is live if you've never been here before. Even if you're watching this pre-recorded, when we filmed it, we did it live. 4 cameras. One of them is up close on my palette so you can see how I'm mixing the paint. I have a close-up camera that's robotic that follows me around the canvas, so you're like right there. You can see anything up close. And then we have this camera where I can talk to you. But here's another cool thing. You can ask questions during the live.
You can?
You can!
What would you ask, might you say?
You might ask some questions about paint flow or what's happening, and John is there reading them. We have a bunch of moderators keeping the chat friendly. In fact, this is a very inclusive, loving, friendly community. And if you're brand new here, this is how we do.
Yeah,
on a Saturday.
On
teaching
a Saturday.
Coraline. On a Saturday. You're going to notice that there's a large area here that's open on the canvas. I think it's okay to have restful spaces on a canvas. So it's okay to leave that open if that's your style, if you have a minimalist style in your home. But a lot of people had a lot of characters and a lot of feels about Coraline. It's a very popular children's book. My kids gave me so many notes on this painting. Which is why there are no button eyes. Because let me tell you what the #1 request in my house was.
Oh, yeah?
Not putting the buttons on Coraline's eyes. Because they're like, she got out. That'd be like messing with Ripley for me, for my generation. You got to let Ripley get out. Don't mess with Ripley. So you can, of course, change that if you want to. But after this video, we're going to meet back up. And I'm going to show how to add this really cool spiderweb texture with a needle hanging down by a spider thread. Or how to put in the letters for I am brave. And talk about how you can customize this yourself. But right now we're just going to work on getting her in. So we have picture-in-picture.
We do. I'm adjusting it right now, actually.
So that's another thing that we have, even on live events, is picture-in-picture. So you have the reference painting the entire time. And because I know we have so many kids painting with us today, and because I know we have so many new painters painting with us today, there she is. That's going to be up the entire painting. I'm going to explain to you a lot more detailed the different little processes. So for sure, no matter where you're living, actually, I'm going to even talk to you about color substitutions just in case you can't get the phthalo blue I have. Right? So I'm going to make sure no matter where you are, you're pretty much covered. So we're working together as a team. Be with me. Let's go over and check the materials.
Okay, give me just a second here. I'm going to make a little...
Or he's going to adjust something, and then we're going to check the materials.
Oh,
we do these things live. There we go. All right, while he's checking those, I'm going to put this out. This black canvas that you saw on my easel is an 11 by 14 pre-gessoed black canvas. If you don't have that, you can simply paint your background black. Here, let me move this back. Okay. You can paint your background black. This is Mars black. Could you use one of the other blacks? You could. I'm also going to be using a good amount of titanium white on this in acrylic paint. I have some burnt sienna, which is a reddish brown, right? And I've got some phthalo blue. Now, if you couldn't get phthalo blue, like say where you lived didn't have phthalo blue, you could, for this project, use Prussian blue just as easily. And in a pinch, you could definitely get away with some ultramarine for this project. I have a Alizarine Crimson hue here because we're going to be doing skin tones. Now, it's more important that you use a red than anything. I'm using a crimson. Here's just a plain crimson. This is System 3. This would work as well. I'm going to put out Cad Yellow Medium, right? But again, in this particular case, if all you could get was like lemon yellow or Hansa yellow or a different yellow, you're going to be okay. And I'm going to put out some yellow oxide, sometimes called yellow ochre on the paint too. But what you want is a yellow that's kind of a gold color. So see, no matter where you are, that's going to be okay. I'm going to be using a mister to keep my palette kind of moist, I'm on palette paper, and I'm going to be using something called acrylic glazing liquid gloss.
Okay.
This is because my studio is hot and dry, and this slows down the drying time of my paint and allows me to glaze. But I'm going to show you some other methods of how to do it. I'm going to be using acrylic brushes, just paint brushes for acrylic painting, and I'm going to talk to you about those as we do it. And we're going to really talk about how to improve the flow of our painting.
Well,
while my husband is sneezing, bless you.
could you, there's a question for my sneezing attack.
Okay.
Could you use cad red instead of crimson?
You can.
Yeah.
In this one, this is a very relaxed on the color mixing. So what you want to think about is the principles, and we're going to talk about those as we go, as we make skin tones. Unlike Sally, who was blue, which made her very, very easy, Coraline has skin tones.
Yeah.
So we're going to be working on those. And so you'll find with a cad red, you're just going to get a warmer skin tone, and that's okay.
So Dominique was asking, does that get tacky or sticky using that additive?
It gets neither tacky nor sticky, which is why I like this additive. Sometimes I find the Liquitex blending medium gets tacky on me. And that could be the conditions in my studio. These, acrylic products are affected by moisture, like the dryness in the air and temperature and things. The golden glazing liquid has performed, I'm in Houston, which is very humid, very hot. And in my studio, it gets very dry because of the lights and the air conditioning unit in here. That glazing liquid is my buddy.
Yeah.
Not sponsored, just telling you what I'm using to succeed.
Yeah.
Now we have 11 by 14 black canvas
there's some
here.
wishes on there too already.
Yeah, we have wishes on here already because we had so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
If there are wishes you see in the comments, feel free, you can add them to your canvas. You can contribute to the good in the world. I like to, on the canvas, put in wishes and paint over it. And since I'm using the black of this pre-gessoed black canvas,
Yeah.
I put my wishes where I knew I was going to be painting over it. So I'd like to share the ones I took earlier.
Okay.
We want to send some healing to Annie.
Yeah.
To Anne. We really do. She's going through some stuff. I'm just going to say put some general healing in the air.
Yeah.
We need a wish for perfect surgery for Patricia's husband, Brian.
Yeah.
He's going in for some heart surgery, and it's 14 hours. And we just really, really want him to be okay. Healthy and happy birthday for Kate. She's a sleepy teacher. Anita was wishing for mental healing and physical health around the world. And I personally wish to keep my family safe recently because we had our car rifled through in the middle of the night. So I added the safety wish. And Mo Cuts, and this is a very special one for me, I'm wishing that her family is reunited and healed and repaired.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just really important. It's so important that we're all together and we have peace and harmony with our friends and our family. And so I wish that for her and for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that kind of ate up my wishing space. But if you see a wish...
There's a bunch of wishes coming in here. Thank you for all late keepers. We have over 225 people here with us already. So thank you guys for coming out here. Please, 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 if you see some wishes coming in there, capture those, put them on your canvases.
And I'm sure some of my light keepers are going to forward some of those to me so that the next live lesson I can add those into the canvas because we like to add our community wishes into the canvas.
Yeah.
I have, as I mentioned before, a no draw option for Coraline. In the link below is a traceable. And remember, you can do this project on an art journal, on any size canvas you want. You could do it on an 8x10. You could do it big. That's really not a restriction. It's just understanding how Coraline is built. And if you're using a traceable, my 2 cents would be to throw it on an 8x10 canvas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And not, make it challenging for yourself.
So while you're going in here and you're moving along, they're curious about what your favorite Tim Burton film is. I know it's a tough one for you.
I think for me it's Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah?
It's not really that tough. But that's, I'm Heathers over Mean Girls.
Sure.
Right? That's just my life. I'm definitely the Heathers over Mean Girls, which maybe means you don't want to really roll up on me because we're a little more old school. Little less shady, little more... No, just kidding. Anywho. Yeah, definitely Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
All the way. Coraline, how she was drawn, if you did Jack and Sally with me, those were like dinner plate shapes. But she's actually got more of a square-shaped head. So when I was doing this character and I actually went through and looked at the character design sheets. I first kind of drew in the basic shape of her head. And I'm going to actually go over this with you again.
Okay.
So you can see how these decisions were made. I'm using a white chalk pencil on this black background. And that's the other reason I really like these pre-gessoed black canvases. Because they really, really take the white chalk pencil. So the first thing I did when I drew her was look at the basic shape of her head. Because that's the most important thing about this character.
Yeah.
Right? Then, when I was putting in her eyes and her ears, the one thing, and I love this, Lisa said this to me, and I think this was such a good way of putting it, you just want to make sure that if she's wearing eyeglasses, they would sit right on her face, and that's sort of sometimes how you can imagine that you might line up ears and eyes, even if it's a cartoon.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So when I'm first doing her eyes, I start out actually with an oval. I try to get 2 evenly placed ovals. But when they did this character, they put the cheek line up in the oval.
Huh. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's different than, I'm going to erase some of my chalk here with a little wet pen. You can kind of see that. So see how I did that? I do the oval and then I cut it back with the chalk. Then I have 2 little lids going like this. And then we have the eyes looking up at something. And we're going to be deciding what they're looking at in that show after this show, after we get her painted in. Or they could just be looking up into space. You could splatter this with stars and do galaxies over here. She could be dreaming big. Right over her eyes, I do 2 little vertical lines that your doctor would want to give you Botox injections for. And I start putting in those eyebrows, and those taper down. See how they're tapering down?
Yeah.
In the space between her eyes and her chin, almost at the halfway mark, that's actually the bottom of her nose. And so the first thing I do is a little scoop right in the center of her face. And then I do a little scoop that goes the opposite curve. So this first scoop goes down, and then the scoop next to it goes up. And I'm going to make a little suggested ball that's the tip of her nose. Now this artist, when they designed her, they actually did her nose where it had almost a crooked feel, like it always looks like it's wrinkled. So I'm going to put that line up that's going to arc, you can see, towards the eyebrow. And then the outside of this nostril comes in at a triangle angle. That's going to be a shadow here. Her mouth, if you take both of her eyeballs down, is almost to the outer edges of her eyeballs. Is a nice little quirky, all of her facial expressions, just observationally, are quirky. They're never rested or central. When they did the character design for her, they always have her in like different interesting expressions. Coraline is at a space in her life where she's between being a kid and a teenager, and the artist definitely chose to express that through her uncomfortable and quirky facial expressions. Her top lip bows just up, and then the smaller lip is underneath. And this is sort of how the artist created a youth look for her, which I think is really cute. Now, her hair comes down across her forehead a little bit and then back.
Mm-hmm.
Down across her forehead a little bit and then back. Like she's tucking it behind her ears. We have the part, but the hairline does follow the shape of her head. And comes down into this sort of tight little bob. I think we all know a little girl like Coraline. But they never let her have blue hair in school because apparently that's a distraction. I must be very distracting.
You are.
So each side is the ears. And this is going to work for you in all of your journaling and all of your drawing. The ear is a little bit of a backward C or a picture handle. And then you come inside and do a little mark, a little curve up, and tuck a little one back in. And that's all you need for an ear. Isn't that cute?
That is.
Just super easy. Then her neck, either side of her chin, lines up with the outer corners of her mouth. Can you see how that lines up?
Yeah.
Interesting thing that it does. 2 little slightly curved lines that come down. And I chose to put her in her yellow raincoat, but we're only showing a little bit of it. So I'm just going to bring a little of it up, curve a line back. And we're not going to say too much about her raincoat because then otherwise we get into a very detailed paint. And we don't want to do that today.
Well,
So,
go
what?
ahead. No, you go ahead.
You're impressed. What?
I was waiting for you to finish your drawing.
No, it's okay. I'm done. I'm done.
You're
She's
done?
drawn.
I'm
She's drawn.
excited. So you're going to have to be ready to dance today.
No.
We have over 250 people with us already in here. We got 155 likes, so I imagine that we are going to be Sherpa. And
If you're brand new here, when we get
dancing.
to 300 likes or 300 people, we do a little dance.
And
Sometimes we just do one anyways because you should dance during your painting.
And I bought new music. I bought new music.
You have new music,
I have
and
new
John
dance
got
music.
new music.
Because I was tired of the same old dance riff.
He really was.
I really was tired of that.
All right, let's talk about over here and mixing the first layers of skin tones in. It's nice because it's going to take a couple to paint her in. I'm going to get a number 8 bright.
Oh, yeah. So thank you for coming. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Woohoo!
Definitely tell your friends, pass it on. That's how we grow.
Yep.
So if you can see this brush here, this is a number 8 bright. Brights tend to be more square. The bristles are shorter, and that gives you a lot more control when you're painting. When the bristles get longer, like in a flat, it's wonderful for soft-bodied paints, but not as helpful for heavy body. You need a little more stiffness for heavy body. I'm going to prime my brush by dipping it in the water and scraping off the excess water. So the brush should be barely perceptibly damp, right? Now, I'm going to take a smidge, a small amount of my Alizarine Crimson over to my yellow oxide, and I'm going to kind of rosy up this yellow oxide. And you see that tone? And I add it, if you notice I'm adding it, if you're brand new to painting, come at the corner of your brush and pull out just the smallest amount and add it in small amounts until you get this rosy gold tone. And then you take a little of this over to your white. And it doesn't take very much of this to create a skin tone in your white. Now I'm not going to add any medium or any water to this. I'm going to show you how this paints on my canvas over here.
Oh.
Now it's pretty good because these black canvases have a good coating on them. They don't fight like sometimes the white canvases do. But you'll notice that even so, my brush is running out of paint fairly quickly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm painting on the edge of my bristles here to keep a sharp line. And I'm coming around. If I was really struggling with that, here's what I would do. I would dip my brush in water. I haven't drug off the extra. And I would come here and I would thin it out. Can you see how thin it is?
Yeah.
It looks like a little bit more like almost an olive oil texture. I'm going to come right next to here and paint this. So what I have is a paint that's slightly thinner, but it's flowing off my brush very easily, isn't it?
Yeah.
And covering the canvas. Now I get that with my blending medium. But if I didn't have blending medium and all I had was water, this is how I would do that. If I added too much water, and I'm going to show this to it, it would look like this. See how much thinner that is?
Oh, yeah. It starts to break up on the...
Will, yeah, it breaks up on my palette paper. If you're using a polystyrene plate, it will break up. You know, and I've seen people just really, really go at it like this. Two things go wrong with this. Look at how it is on the canvas.
Yeah.
It's not covering the canvas. It's like a watercolor. The other thing this paint will do is something called underbinding, which means the acrylic won't stick to the canvas. So you really, really want to make sure that you have enough paint to your water mixture, but enough water to improve your flow. So I'm adding some more white paint into this. You can get it to up to about a 30% ratio of water to paint and not have it underbind. So don't panic about that. It's just something to think about. And if you're brand new, you might not know that. And I've had to add so much white that's made my skin tone very, very light. I have to do almost 2 layers on here, so I'll be correcting that. I'm going to paint carefully around my nose. I want to leave that line in because I'm going to have to put a shadow in as I'm painting her in, to not lose the design that I sketched in.
Now, there were some people asking if you have a flat brush and you want to turn it into a bright, can you just trim the fibers?
You can, or another thing I like to do, and I don't know where, do I have one of my taped ones here? Because I had a demo one with tape. Where did my demo one? I think I probably untaped it.
While she's saying that, we've done some looks at some brushes. But you can do anything you want to your own brush.
Yeah.
Now that being said, is that understand that hairs and fibers on a brush are designed not always different. Like a hair has a different tip than it does in the shaft.
Okay, well here's a nice flat.
So if you cut them, ultimately you can be affecting the performance of the tips of the brush hairs.
Yeah, you absolutely will, but you can, and people do. So see the difference in the lengths?
Yeah.
Right? Now if I'm a soft-bodied paint, if I'm a fluid paint, this is quite lovely. You know, if I'm in a self-loving paint, this is like a craft paint. If I were painting a box with craft paint, I would want a flat. But if I'm painting a painting with a heavy body paint, I want a good bright or a strong, filbert. And actually, I like filberts better for oils, just personally. Also, the flats will pull in more water. Sometimes they'll pull in too much water.
Gotcha.
Just something you might not know. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. So I'm going to take a little more of my Alizarine Crimson. You could be doing your Cad Red. You could be doing your regular Crimson. It wouldn't matter. You're just trying to create a slight peach tone with your gold.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add my white. And if I use my medium, I don't have to add any water, and I get the same effect as if I did add water.
Gotcha.
Also, now it won't dry as quickly, and I can blend spaces better. Just something. Because on her, we're painting her over this black canvas, and it's going to take a couple coats of paint. Even for me, painting with professional paints.
Now, that was interesting.
I'm just weird today. What is up with me today?
So
I sound so like instructional.
well, since you're being so instructional, it's very funny because so CPG, Chris Plays Games, is with
Hi,
us
Chris
today.
Plays Games. I don't know what's up with me today. I'm in instruction mode.
And he actually brought up a very interesting question. He was like, well, I didn't. He was asking what gesso is because he's never heard of gesso before.
Okay, so canvas comes as raw linen,
mm-hmm.
and in its raw state, right, whether it's cotton or there's raw duck cotton and there's raw linen, we'll pull in the pigment, it disperses, it blends, it gets a watercolor effect, and you can actually, you don't underbind that, you can do rinses and washes on that, but it doesn't give you a nice surface to paint on, so artists started to prepare the surface, what's called a ground, and gesso is a chalk, right, and pigment, and a binder, and it's cheaper than using my titanium white to prepare the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives me a little bit of tooth for my paint to stick to. And then the paint companies got real clever and they started creating pigmented gessos. Yes, you could put black paint into your white gesso. It's going to take a lot of black paint to tint your gesso that color. In fact, I would do it with clear gesso. If you're going to tint your own gessos,
mm-hmm.
don't try to tint your white gesso, tint your clear gesso. Otherwise, you'd just be making a lot of pastel gesso grounds. Which, if you want that, that's fantastic. If you didn't want that, that's a big bummer.
Gotcha. So, just out of curiosity, could you paint her first on a white canvas and then go back in and paint the background black?
You could.
You could.
You could.
Gotcha.
There really isn't, one of the hard things about explaining art is there isn't hard and fast rules. There's a set of skills, and the skills work together. And when you learn all the skills, you get a bunch of choices. In making those choices, it was what creates your art.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's thought of as style or talent. Not really style or talent. Just working to create your skills. You'll notice that I'm leaving enough of this black canvas to help me know where things are, like her nose.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'm just using that. I'm saving that. If you lose the face, you can always stop and sketch it back in. It's just not a problem. So I've mixed a little more of this base color.
So is Cad Red deep or Cad or is Cad Red medium or deep better for this?
I would go Cad Red deep for this, but if all you had was Cad Red medium, don't let that stop you. I mean, I make a skin tone with Cad Red medium all the time.
Gotcha.
So, and this first layer is just about getting the paint in and blocking in your character, right? Then you're going to be doing all the subtle tones and skin tones. This is a simple paint, but it's going to give you a really neat look into what it takes to paint, faces and figures.
Mm-hmm.
If you were wanting to do that. She has a lot in common with the beholder.
There were a lot of people who were out here who were saying they really enjoyed doing that.
So it's a good paint, and there's not enough horror painting classes out there.
No, and there's a lot of skin tone coverage in that as
Yeah.
well. So
It's one of those weird things. I was really like, oh no, I hope this is going to be okay. Yeah, y'all have to kind of hang with me. We had a kind of a morning. I went out to the car to get in the car, and I was sitting there looking at the mess in my car, wondering what the heck John was doing the night before and why he just threw everything on the floor of the car, feeling kind of disgruntled and annoyed. And then I got to noticing the rear view mirror and everything. And I'm just sitting in there, and it just dawns on me, oh, my car got broken into.
it was just, I have a tendency to, we all forget to lock the car, and it was just in the driveway, and so probably just some neighborhood kids walking through, because they didn't actually go through the glove box or any of the things that were. It was just, clearly they were,
Good morning.
What do you do?
What do you do?
I mean, I'm actually more afraid.
Well, I guess if you're on YouTube, you put a bunch of security cameras out there and broadcast live.
Yeah, exactly.
Have fun, kids.
But I'm actually afraid for those kids in Texas because we have such like protection laws where,
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a shame.
Yeah, it is.
So I wish that everyone.
I'll tell you
had
what made
they
me sad, though. They got my Starbucks card. That was real rough. So I'm just, making sure that I've got good coverage.
Yeah.
I am going to have to do 2 coats. You're going to have to do 2 coats, maybe 3. And that's white or black canvas.
But the layers are good.
You want these layers.
Yeah.
In this particular stuff, you do. And you don't have to, look right here. I've got kind of a hot mess going around my eyebrow. I just needed to know where the thing was. So that when I come back, I know where to put it again. Right? And I'm going to paint in the ears.
And I can say from the video game industry, some of the biggest advances that were done on skin tones was the ability to add layers to the skin so that they could have different luminosity and different colors and and it makes the biggest difference.
It does, except in those Final Fantasy movies where it does just look like animated cadavers running around still. They got to work on that.
Too realistic.
I don't know. It doesn't work. Even Angelina Jolie and Grendel and
they lack the subtlety of motions that humans have.
Though the Tony Stark one in Avengers was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
All right. So that's some weird art.
Okay, we're
just
off on
observe Tony Stark in his youth. That's a fantastic overlay. Really good use of skin layers. I'm going to put in her hair. Mm-hmm. So if you cannot get the available, you can see I've got another synthetic brush here. This is also a size 8. I just want a clean brush for this. I'm taking off the extra water, right? And I'm going to pull out a little blue. Notice I'm never scooping from the center.
Uh-huh.
I'm always pulling it out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to pull out a small amount of black.
Kate's so funny.
And I'm mixing some of this around. Now, again, you can add some water to thin it, but not past this point. See, this is the point you want to thin it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just paint in the first layer of
goes.
Girlfriend's blue hair, which I respect.
So Kate is like, don't you guys use the Starbucks app? I know.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, Kate, we do. But see, the card is in there.
Has been with us forever.
It's the backup in case, for whatever reason, the phone doesn't work, and she still can get Starbucks.
It's a problem.
And Mona's like, they don't have Starbucks in Sweden.
Couldn't live in Sweden, Mona.
I could totally come to Sweden.
Yeah, John's not a fan of Starbucks.
I like Starbucks. I think they're just fine. I don't.
He's not as dependent as I am.
No.
My mom's been out of coffee for like a week because her coffee maker broke. She's this really special coffee maker. It's not a K-cup thing. It's like you need an MIT degree to operate her coffee maker. And it's been broken though. And when it needs repairs, it's an insane amount of money. wow. She's really, but she won't go to Starbucks either. I'm like, just drive to Starbucks. She's like, it will never happen. I'm like, but it's okay, because I'm taking care of the Starbucks executives myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like to make sure that they can vacation. Go to Disneyland. Good tour. I work hard. So you can see I'm using the edge of my brushes here when I'm brushing down. So I'm coming along here on the edge of my brushes, curving around the jaw.
I do now.
And now brushing it back in. So that basic part is in. And now I'm going to block in the shadow, her eyes, her mouth, and her yellow jacket. I think I'll do the yellow jacket next. And you can rinse out this brush, or you can get a different brush. The trick with color clarity is making sure that when you change colors that your brushes are clean. So you'll notice I pressed down, I rinsed it out quite well, and I even brought it over to my towel to pull out any pigment that I might have had. I'm going to grab a little just yellow ochre. I'm not adding any water, I'm not thinning. And I'm going to come and put the first layer of her jacket in with the yellow gold. I'm going to leave this dark right here. I'm going to brush out my words and send those into the universe, but I'm not going to paint the whole thing. And the reason I do this yellow ochre is that when I come back later with the bright yellow, it's going to make the bright yellow seem even brighter. Just a crazy cool trick. That's all I got to do. See how I did that? I'm like, brush, brush. Come here, some little furtive little guesses. Just coming here. I use the edge of my brush to get nice crisp lines where the jacket outline is. But inside here, it's very abstracted, very rough. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Be sure and switch to smaller brushes. This is a number 4 bright. You could use a number 2. You could use any small brush that you have a lot of control over. And I'm going to come inside her eye.
There we go.
And then paint the whites of her eyes in. If I paint out too much of her brown iris, it's okay, because when I come back and put it in, I can correct for that. Just want to make sure that I have a nice little whites of her eyes and little whites of her eyes. People are going to be really impressed with how well you painted Coraline. It looks simple to them on the outside, but by the time you're done, you're going to realize there's a lot that goes into her.
Mm-hmm.
She's a complex being, not just in literature, but in artistic design. And much like Jack and Sally, people are going to be like, whoa. Like Bill and Ted would say, whoa. Whoa. All right. Sorry. I'm so weird. So I'm going to rinse my brush off, and I'm going to come put her lids in. Her lids are the crimson, the Alizarine Crimson, and the burnt sienna.
Ooh, so if you've used too much retarder, is there anything you can do?
Did you use retarder or liquid glazing? Because if you use the liquid glazing, you're okay. If you use the retarder and you used it like a glaze, it may not dry. You can just hit it with a hairdryer.
Yeah.
Cool temperature, but just like hit it with a hairdryer for a while and see if you can get it to dry. Because sometimes you can force a dry even on the retarder. But
Okay.
that's the thing about the retarders. I love them. I love the Grumbacher retarder. I think it's amazing. But you can't glaze with it. And when I say glaze, what I mean is take a teeny tiny amount of color and a lot of the retarder to create like this little translucent tone here.
Yeah.
They have very specific ratios that will work on the bottles, and I find on those things it's best to follow the recommendations of the manufacturer.
Right.
It really is. They're not messing with you. They don't make two products that are exactly the same, right?
Yep.
It's like glazing liquid and gloss medium and varnish are two different products.
Yes.
Right? So if you were in there, but they seem on the surface to be the same product. So a lot of people feel like they might be. But Liquitex wouldn't bother making two, not even for profits, if they weren't very different things. Gloss medium and varnish is the only product that's a medium and a varnish.
That we're
It's
aware
2
of.
in 1.
That we're aware of.
That we're aware of.
Yeah.
It's okay. If you find another one, Dude, I'm up for it. Share it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So see how I've pinked up this brown, and I've painted that in. And this is all very rough. This isn't neat or tidy yet. I'm going to take this color, probably with a smaller brush. I like these number 2 shaders. I can get these. These are easy to get because they're not the firm filaments like the Simply Simmons firm filament.
Yeah.
They're just the regular multimedia filament that you find like at Michael's and stuff.
Yeah.
But their detail brushes are real great. And I love this number 2 shader. And I'm going to paint her lips in with that. Because it gives me a lot of control.
Mm-hmm.
And lets me get that first beautiful base coat on her lips. And we want to do that. I really, really sat and thought a long time about like what expression. Do you see this? Do you see what I just did?
What'd you do?
I always have paint on my hands.
Where are you painting at?
You know what? And it's so goofy because I'll be out places and people will be like, "Are you an artist?" And I'm like, "How do they know?" And then I look at myself. I'm like, "Oh, because I'm covered head to toe in paint. That's how they know." They're not Columbo over here. I'm just a hot mess. Do you remember that time when those people were like, "Are you on YouTube?" And I got all excited, and then I realized we were covered in YouTube stickers.
Well, how'd you know?
Wait, and wasn't that like a famous football player too that was talking to us?
Oh, I don't know.
I have no idea. Everybody seemed to want to talk to this guy. I think he was, I don't know, he was famous. He had this like stunning girlfriend, and they had flown somewhere to get a bulldog puppy.
Oh, yeah.
It was the cutest bulldog puppy you've ever seen. This dog had to be like 10 grand. I've never seen such cute.
Yeah.
The cute was like mega factored off this puppy. And his girlfriend was just unbelievable. They were just, I don't know, shinier people. And so we're sitting there after some YouTube thing we had to do. What YouTube thing did we have to do?
I don't remember.
We did something. And, you know, anytime you go to a YouTube thing, they have stickers. They give you all these YouTube stickers, so we put them on everything.
Yes.
And so we're just sitting there in the airport talking, and this guy who's big even compared to John, and very few guys are big compared to John, is like, "Hey, are you on YouTube?" And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Do they watch the show? How do they know?" And I'm like, how could you tell? And his girlfriend's like, "Well, because you got stickers all over your backpack."
So why did we have? I want to tell you real
I'm
quick.
sorry. No. Don't dislike me because I told that story.
I think it's great. We have over 260 people with us, and we have a bunch of little brushes that I wanted to give a shout out to.
Oh, let's shout out all the little brushes. I love if you're painting with me, little brushes. Don't give up. Remember, paintings have a crazy stage.
Yeah. Okay. I saw a little brush Jack and
Hi, little brush Jack.
and Neva and Raven and Reese.
Hi, Reese.
And I think that I'm going to say safely that there's probably a little brush Lisa with us because there's a million of those.
If you're a little brush, be sure and say hi. What do we consider? I got asked that the other day. What do we consider a little brush? And I think I generally think of little brushes as people under 16.
Yep, it's true. My mom just came in. It's like, here, have some French fries.
I can't right now, but I do want French fries. But healthy life choices. My mother-in-law's here with French fries.
It's your time to guess.
I
We're
can't eat them on air. Give them to John.
We'll do them later. Put them up front.
Don't wait. Probably, actually feed them to another person. Healthy life choices. I can go eat some vegetables. Oh, it's so rough. All right, I'm going to grab some black paint in my sadness and mix it into my brown. So sad. And I'm going to just make sure that her little smile is put back because I lost it.
Uh-oh.
Weekends. And I've got a little bit of a shadow here. So you see how I just made a little bit of an indent right here?
Raven's turning 15 soon.
Who is?
Raven.
Hey, Raven.
She says, I'm turning 15 soon.
That's pretty cool. That's a cool birthday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go around my eye with this black and brown. Just real quick. Still my number 2 shader. I'm on the edge of the brush, which gives me the finest line. I'm resting my wrist against the canvas. The pressure is very light, and that's what helps me make a thinner line. You guys are going to be hearing some of our background family noises. Yep. Grandparents have a free pass to come anytime and bring anything they want. Don't know if you guys have that same rule, but that's the rule at our house. Grandparents can come anytime and bring anything they want for the grandchildren. It's just come as you like. All right, I'm coming underneath here. And it's just a very light line. You don't want it to be thick. And if it gets thick like this, I'll show you how we fix it. So I'll show 2 messed up ones. If you over thicken the line. Cool?
Okay.
All right. Because I don't want anyone to be worried about that. I'm going to take this color right now too and come underneath my nose where I have the shadow on and kind of enforce this. Just a small bit. And you can see I'm making these sort of soft little brush strokes to sort of feather it out. And that's helping me get the shadow. I'm going to take this dark color over to my skin tone and mix it in. Can you see that there where I'm mixing it in?
Yeah.
And I'm going to just paint this side of the nose with that shadow. And that's going to be a lot. I'm going to use that shadow a lot on her face to create the shape. Creating the shape. And if you're wondering, like, do we film at home for real? Is it live for real? Now you know.
Now you know.
Super, it is what it is.
Ooh, Lexi's 11. She's a little brush.
Hi, Lexi. So I've created that little just kind of skin tone shadow right there. And isn't that nice? I'm going to also take the shadow while I have it. And here's the thing. Whenever you're doing a face, a chin, or anything, don't take a dark line and underline the face. What you want to do is create a shadow at the neck. Cartoon or not, shadow at the neck. Something a lot of people don't know, but this keeps your faces and your portraits from being flat.
Ah.
And that's what you want. But if I just run a line on both sides, and I might put some shadow here, but this is the shadow that's important to separate the face space from the neck space. And it's going to take a couple coats, and I'm not that worried about that.
So
like you do.
Gail thinks that she should be able to qualify as a little brush because she's only 4'11".
She's only what?
4'11".
4'11"?
4'11".
You know what? If you're young at heart, you qualify. I'm going to take a little of my black over my brown again. I've got my number 4 bright here. It's a little bit flared. I need to reshape this. If you ever want to know how to reshape or repair brushes, we have a video for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really need to do that with this one. That happens. Everybody's acrylic brushes get a little disheveled. Yeah. When I have trouble with the size of my brush to get in a tight space, a lot of times I will turn it to the corner.
Now, one of the things I'll say about the advantages of being an experienced brush over a little brush is you get to go to the brush spa. So there's some pluses there.
Going to the brush spa. Yeah, we got to do a spa day on the brushes, which is where I go through and repair a bunch of damaged brushes. Mm-hmm. Get them back in painting shape. So I'm just painting this in, and the last thing I need to block in is the eyebrows. So back to the number 2 shader, which would be awesome if I knew where I put it. I did just, right, did you see me? I just put it down.
What'd you do? What'd you do?
It's just gone.
Look, I can see stuff on the cameras. I look here, and I see some brushes over there.
Did it roll off? Okay.
There's a brush on your easel, I see.
I don't know what I did with it. It's freaking me out, John.
Which one are you looking for?
That number 2 shader I just had.
Is it behind your cup?
I got it. That freaked me out.
We're all looking here. Now they're starting to vote. They're starting to look on in the community. They're like, look behind the cup.
Oh, being an artist means I have several pairs of eyeglasses on my head at any given time. So I'm just going to come back and put these eyebrows back, but it's not that hard for me because I left enough of my initial sketch line in to be pretty sure of her eyebrow line.
This is interesting.
Okay.
We had some interesting information surface up here in chat. It would seem that the average height of a Sherpa is about 5'2".
Oh, dude, we're all little brushes.
I mean, there's some outliers that are 5'9", 5'5", but I mean, there was a wall of 5'2", 5'3" that came up.
Short people make painters. I don't know. We could probably do a study. You can do a study on anything these days.
I think that's pretty.
Like to do a study on that kale is bad for you and should not be eaten anymore for any reason. All right, guys. Remember, I'm putting this on my easel lip. So later, when I forget what I did with it, remind me.
You know what I discovered about kale?
It's the devil.
Is that you could take an entire strawberry smoothie and one piece of kale will ruin it.
I think that is absolutely true.
There's
All
no,
right, I'm taking
there's no small amount of kale that you can add and
little
still keep it
brushes
good.
run from the kale. Other mother is fine. But kale, no. Anywho, taking a small amount of my Alizarine Crimson over to my yellow ochre. And I'm also going to mist because my paint is doing something called skinning.
Mm-hmm.
And when your paint starts to become thick and unresponsive, it will do this thing. It will creep up your brush like the blob.
Ooh.
And then you'll be like, why is my paint all the way up my brush? That's why. I'm going to get into my glazing medium now and get that nice consistency of paint. I've got a nice skin tone that's fairly light. Oh, one thing that you can do, especially since we got this, is you can also always kind of put this on your skin.
But don't do it if you have cadmium.
Don't do it if you have cadmium, because you might have an allergy.
Use hue.
You can, yeah, use hue. And especially if you're painting with kids, use hue.
Yeah.
Not because it's like jumping poison, but because, you don't want to discover right then that you've got an allergy. That's all I'm saying.
Cinnamon's using bad artist practice. Don't put paint on your skin.
Well, I mean, Will Kep does it, so I'm not saying it's bad artist practice. It's just, I have done this for decades, so I've got a pretty good idea where my allergy set is and where it isn't. Now, I'm still going to have to put a highlight on her nose, but I want this base skin tone to be everywhere to give her a nice base skin tone, especially before I put the freckles in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just making sure. Now, even so, I think sometimes what happens to you guys is your expectations of how smooth and perfect your paint should be are set more for self-leveling fluid paints. Things that have a high pigment load and no brush stroke, that you wouldn't see the canvas shining through. Heavy body paints are made to hold brush stroke. So, if you're painting with them, just be aware of that and keep your expectations balanced for that reality. See how I just painted out my boo-boo, though? It wasn't even a big deal.
Yeah, it was disappeared. We didn't even,
right?
you didn't even talk about it.
I forgot to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it over here. So I've had a boo-boo. I made the eyes overly thick. I've done anything I don't like ever in acrylic painting. I just go right over it with new paint. And as long as the pigment load on my brush is good, it paints away. The only time you'll have trouble with that is the paint is underbound, you're painting with a really inexpensive paint, and its coverage isn't good.
Man, I just was trying to decipher the strangest comment.
Totally. I'm up for strange comments.
Oh, man. So this one's outside of our wheelhouse because
okay.
it's so...
Look how far up my paint creeped, because I got mixing up too big of areas.
Mm-hmm.
I mixed up too much, and it creeped up my brush, so I got to wipe it off.
So reading this, it said, Betty says, I'm only 5 foot barely, lol. John, Texas Tech just made a TD, so we're tied. And I'm like reading this going, Texas Tech, what are we talking about here? That's a football thing, isn't it?
Dude, we don't know. Look, we didn't even know we were talking to a famous football player.
Yeah, no,
in the airport.
Unless it has an octane rating or...
I think that was surreal for that guy, too, because we clearly had no idea who he was.
Yeah, or you're like a vintage Taekwondo fighter. I'm not we don't watch many sports.
Yeah. I even, not really up on Survivor right now either.
Nope.
And that tells you something that we think Survivor is a sport.
Although, I'm
more likely to know an X Games athlete.
Yeah, I know some gamers. I know a former world champion first-person shooter player. Several of them, actually. So,
champions for DDR.
Yeah, I know a lot of dance champions, dance game champions.
So you can see how I'm having to do several coats.
No paintball champions.
No?
I do. I know some paintballers.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, speedball and...
I'm painting on the edge of my brush here. I'm working very carefully between these spaces. And you can see how I always use the tip of the bristles to get control. They give me a sharp edge. That's the other thing I really like about a bright, is that it gives me control on the corner. In other words, if I'm painting the corner of the brush like this for tight space, or I can come on the edge and get a very fine line like I did right there. A lot of control with these brights, and that's why I like them. Doesn't mean they're the only brush. My good friend Angel Anderson has a lot of flats, and she likes those. She has a lot of specialty brushes that she likes. But she also paints a lot of times with a softer bodied paint.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just, using her experience, working her tools to get the good results she's looking for. That's all it is.
Now, earlier you had mentioned a blog to get some painting ideas from. Did you?
I did, and I'm a blog. I'm gonna guess it's Wet Canvas, because that's an artist blog I really like.
We'll just put it in the description below. We'll go back and see whatever that was.
And then there's, our website, TheArtSherpa.com.
That's true. I'll take this time to plug. Hey, guys. So you should go out and check out TheArtSherpa.com. We've got a whole bunch of cool stuff out there, legitimately cool. Like you can share up your pictures. You can create an account. We've got a lot of space out there for you. We have some forums. We have a lot of features that are coming. You can share up with your friends, connect up with them, comment on the pictures and stuff. We're really, really happy with this is coming together, but we're really trying to curate a safe place for you guys to come together, share your artwork with your friends, be able to talk about what you're interested in doing.
Just whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
Just whatever you're working on, guys.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Original stuff, all that. Just whatever you're working on.
TheArtSherpa.com.
So I'm taking this light color, and I'm creating kind of like this implied light source here by highlighting this side. Just what we're doing. And I know I could have slipped through Coraline a lot faster than I am today, but again, I know I've got a lot of people painting with me, and I'm trying to make sure that I am covering what they need. So since I'm going to come get the yellow, since the jacket's like ready to take some more paint, it's dry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come and get some yellow, and I might add just a smidge of white to my yellow. And if you have a very inexpensive yellow, you may want to as well. That'll improve the colors because yellow tends to be one of the more transparent paints. That's the other reason why the oxide is a great base to create a bright space. And I'm going to put most of this color up here on the upper edge of the coat. And then I'm going to pull this straight back to say this is the opening here and then along here. So I'm just telling a story of this coat, but because I'm being very not specific, I don't have to be incredibly realistic about it. And that's important to know. Sometimes trying to be realistic actually makes a painting feel less real. Go figure, but that's true. See? Now we have a bright yellow raincoat. I might add a little bit coming back here to imply that it goes behind her neck. Look at that. What a cool trip is that. I'm going to rinse out the brush really well.
Hey, I see my buddy Trent just joined in, so I
Hi,
want to say a big
Trent.
art high five to my buddies up there.
How's everybody doing?
So thank you so much. Trent is the operator of Channel 15 in Ohio, where we're on public access up there.
Yeah.
So
Hi, Ohio!
Put some reference on that. Thank you so much for helping us out with that. We really love you guys. Thanks.
So I boo-booed where my skin tone went over my eye, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to work my hair. Now, I'm going to take some Just Phthalo blue and a smidge of white. Not a lot of white. See how it says smidge?
Mm-hmm.
Smidgy. Because I don't want to make a sky blue. I want it still to be quite dark, but light enough to show up.
Oh.
And I'm going to very loosely, see how the paint isn't very mixed on my brush?
Hold on, let me zoom in on that. Okay.
The paint isn't very mixed on my brush. It's very loose. So that's going to allow me to let it streak and mix on the canvas, which does some of the heavy lifting of my painting for me. When I'm coming around this corner here, I'll take my brush on the flat, and I'll be careful around the ear, just to hold her ear. I'll pull up some more paint. I don't worry about getting any more white because I'm not trying to lighten. All right, coming down. Grandparents have lost control.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna let you know. So
Go save your mom from whatever's happening.
This week is Trent's 66th birthday. His mom's 66th birthday. So we're gonna say happy birthday to Trent's mom.
Happy birthday, Trent's mom. So I just came and painted that, and because the paint is streaky, it creates that feeling of hair. All right, we're going to come over and paint this side. And I just think it's great that it's Trent's mom's birthday. I hope she has a great birthday. I hope it's like the best ever. I'm just painting this in with the blue. There's a little bit of white on there, so it creates a streaking. Trying to stay out of the way of our camera a little bit so you guys can really see it. Just a small amount of white. You can see how it's just marbled on my brush. And what does that do? That does the work for me.
Makes that streakiness happen.
That's one of the things that Bob was constantly talking about, is places that the paint does the painting for you. That's one of my favorite things about watching him, is he had a real understanding of what the paint could do for you.
Ooh, I'm going to send a big hugs up there to Tammy. She says that they're expecting some big storms in Washington, and I know that there was some of that up there over the weekend, that Jay was weathering with Julie, seeing some friends. So, yeah, hugs to you guys.
Be safe.
Be safe up there.
Trees will come down. It's dangerous. All right. So there you have the hair tucked around her ear. It's streaking. So this is the base of the hair.
So there were some people asking about, if you have any questions about getting the Sherpa on your local peg station, just email us at help@heartparty.com.
And we'll tell you how.
And that's HARTPARTY.com, or any of the places that you get to us, and we'll definitely forward on the information.
But public access will never take us off of YouTube.
No.
One thing I learned I got to meet Laura Vitale from Laura in the Kitchen at Next Up, and spent a great time talking to her. And something I took away from that engagement was that she was so committed to YouTube, because she's like, there is no me without YouTube. And I got to thinking about that. I'm like, that is the truest thing I have heard anybody say this whole week.
Yeah.
There's no me without YouTube. So for sure, no matter what we're doing with Peg, we're always on YouTube. Now, I pulled a little more white. I didn't rinse my brush, and I just pulled some white out. And can you see that right there, John?
I can.
So it already had the blue paint on it. I pulled a little white. I haven't mixed it even on the palette, and I'm about to come here and I'm going to just very lightly, this is called dry brushing, and it's about having a very light touch. I'm barely touching the canvas, and the tooth of the canvas, the tooth of my paint is picking the white off of my brush for me. And I'm going to just dust a small amount here. The trick of success of this is not to do a whole lot of it. And I'm going to just do a couple streaks down here. Now I'm going to need a little more blue because I took a lot of it off. And then I'm going to come do the same thing. I'm going to get a little white. And I'm going to dry brush just this highlight right here at the corner of her head. This helps create that shape that we just really associate with Coraline. Then at the front of the hair, a little dry brushing. And then come down here with this highlight blue. And that really pops the blue against this dark canvas. Somebody was asking me about why I like these dark canvases so much. And I think what it is from quilting.
Miss Angela Anderson just joined us.
Hey, Angela. Angela and I have a collab coming up with Silver Creek Studios.
With Leanne. I heard you told me about that.
November 5th.
I heard that there was going to be a monstrous piece of
fantastical
luggage.
Monster. Yeah, there's been some
And
talks.
Some
Angela,
unicorns?
if she chooses to share with you what she's going to do, I'm doing a phoenix because we are going to go search for mythical creatures.
We're gonna. So is it secret? Am I?
It's not secret.
I'm okay. I'm not outing things that I should know.
No, you're not outing anything.
Okay.
We just haven't gotten to our social media.
Oh, okay. Because I heard all the talks about this and about.
He was so excited.
I was like, "Ooh."
He loves what Angela's doing. He loves what I'm doing. But honestly, he was the most excited about Leanne.
Leanne's. Yeah, I'm like really looking forward to seeing Leanne.
Now that I don't, she hasn't announced it, so I don't want to commit her to an artistic idea.
But it was exciting.
But he was the most excited about her. I told him mine, which is Phoenix.
It was a very fresh. It was a very fresh take on monsters.
Yeah, he thought it was pretty good, and from the Potter universe, which we're all a huge fan of. So that's awesome. November 5th.
Yeah.
Mark that on your calendars. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. I'm mixing that eyelid color again, John, which was the Alizarine Crimson and the Burnt Sienna. I've got my number 2 shader here. And I'm going to come back and fix this boo-boo.
All right. I'm going to go
See
over
me
and watch
fixing my boo-boo?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go put this back because I'm like, I want an eyelid. What's going on here? Put my eyelid back. So it can take a couple coats to do this over a light color, and if you need that, don't stress about it. That's not like you haven't messed up, that's just how the paint is. If your paint is very, very translucent or not really thick with pigment, it will do that to you. So whenever you're doing repair, don't worry about if you've got to do a couple coats. I'm going to come and also add a little paint to this lid again, because I'm going to do this interesting thing. I'm going to come and get into my white. I haven't rinsed my brush. I've just grabbed a little white. I've just pulled it out. It's on the tip here. In the inside corners of both eyes, I'm going to very softly blend a highlight across the lid to the midpoint.
Ooh. They're looking for some Lord of the Rings stuff.
That, I'm sure, is coming. But right now, we're doing the Harry Potter in the 5th.
Yeah.
So, coming across there. So, see how we created that nice little highlight?
Yeah.
I'm going to take this wonderful, wonderful color and I'm going to add a little more alizarin. I think I got it too light, so I'm going to add a little more alizarin. I'm pulling in my blending medium, my glazing liquid, and I'm going to work this little lip just a touch. Just a touch across the top. And then right here in the center, just a little highlight. And I need to rinse that out. I'm going to come get my Alizarine Crimson just straight up. What's nice is Alizarine Crimson is a little bit transparent on its own. And I'm going to make sure that the lips are dark where they meet. Shade out a little bit around the edge. But I want to keep a little of the highlight. If you do lipstick, you're like, oh, I'm just contouring the lip. Yep.
I had an interesting question in here.
Okay.
So where do they find information on contacting you for collaborations?
Oh gosh.
Because so there's just some new folks out here, and they were like, hey, if we're interested in doing some collaborations with you, how do we contact you? And I'm like,
I'm going to say hit the email.
Help at heartparty.com or any of the...
Yeah, any of the posted emails would be a good way to do that, and just tell me your idea.
Yeah, just hit us up. We'll respond and see what's going on.
We like to collaborate.
Yeah, we got a really full schedule this October, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm up for it. And I'm up for shenanigans.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't even have to be what you think.
Yeah, especially like we love...
I'm grabbing some just Alizarine Crimson for the eye here at the mid-lid.
If you're a music channel, I'd love to do some stuff with you.
All kinds of stuff. We're just up for it. Creativity and fun, we're up for it.
Wintergotten, if you're watching, I'd love to do something with you.
Okay, so John's having a weird moment there. I'm going to get some just burnt sienna. And I'm going to come and actually put this in the center of the eye. But I like to, if you have paint on your wrist, if you have paint on your wrist and then you rest it on a painted surface, it will stick. And that is very annoying. That was also true for those rock eyeballs. Notice that I'm leaving this dark sort of area, that dark chocolate that I made. If you paint it out, though, you can just go put it right back in. Right? Lots of ways to get this done. I have these ways. You may have other ways.
Other ways.
So it's just the pure burnt sienna right here. And I've got the dark outline there. Shadow of the nose, I'm going to probably knock back in a second a little bit because I've overshadowed it. I'm going to give her a little bit of a blush. I'm going to kind of work these ears out because they got a little cray-cray. And I may have to go back with some black and clean that up. But since I made a boo-boo, I'm probably going to have to go over the canvas with black anyways. Which is why it's nice to know that these pre-gessoed canvases are Mars Black. Because it makes it easy then to paint over the boo-boos.
Where are you going?
I don't know. I'm going to get this.
She's like, you're not on any camera I was looking at.
I have to paint some black on the background.
Okay.
I'm going to...
You're going to
add some mist to my black here. That's another way to add water to your paint, believe it or not.
You misted it?
I misted it. Because I've got a nice big wash here. This is whiter than a bright. Right?
Okay.
Totally whiter than a bright. And the bristles are a little bit softer. Traditionally, you would be using it in like, watercolor or wash techniques. But in this particular case, it's not as thick. And it will cover large areas of the canvas very quickly for me. And I'm going to just sort of clean up. One of the things about her is you want the image to be as clean. You know, Jack and Sally was clean too.
Yeah.
So I know we're not cooking along as fast as we could be. We're almost done. We haven't done our little dragonfly. I just want to make sure that you guys have the best chance of getting her in as possible this Saturday.
Yeesh.
And she looks as good for you as she can, especially if you're a big fan, because I know people, my kids have such strong feels about her.
And we've had such a great crowd of people out here today. We've got over 270 people and over 280 likes. So thank you guys. Don't forget to
Make me dance.
Yeah, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, and share. We're only 20 away from making the Sherpa dance.
You can always tell us what things, let us know what you want to paint. We use your comments.
Yeah, share it out there.
In the channel to decide what we're painting next. You guys actually, this was picked by you.
Yeah.
I mean, did my kids back your decision? Yes, they did. But it was picked by you.
Let us know in the comments below what you want to see next, and we'll be scrolling through there looking for that.
So when this dries, this will actually be a very similar color to what the background was. And I've got to do something here. I used a lot of my blending medium on our skin, and I'm going to dry this just to make sure that the paint is sticking to the layer underneath.
You go do that right there. Okay. So isn't that awesome? While she's away, I will go over here and pull up our new music list. Yay! When she comes back. Because thank you guys. We have over 300 likes, 307 likes. They keep going up. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming out here and sharing with us. We had that great 80K sort of impromptu video the other day, which was unexpected and awesome. So, thank you guys for all coming to that. It was really nice, honestly, to have all you guys there when we rolled that over. So, it was really kind of special that we were able to pull that off kind of live with everybody there. And so thank you guys for, just sort of being the awesome you guys that you are.
Number 2 shader is back.
Oh, before we do that, I'm just telling them how awesome they are.
Thank you. You guys are really awesome. And thank you for coming and doing this. Hopefully you guys are going to, the Poison Flowers is going to be Tuesday. I'm posting that up today. And, we're going to be doing Rocky Horror Picture Show on Thursday instead of The Quest.
Yeah.
And then Saturday we have Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one of the season, and before Spooky Train, will be Corpse Bride.
Now, dance, Sherpa!
No way!
Because we are absolutely...
I have no music, so I'm being dorktastic.
How about there you go? If you're at home joining us, guys, whenever we get to 300, we like to celebrate life and just get up and dance, wiggle our fingers, wiggle our toes, and just say thank you, guys, because we're so grateful for you guys being here with us. And once you get her started, it's hard to get her stopped.
Okay. I'm gonna take a little of my black with my number 2, and I'm gonna come in the eye, and I'm gonna add the pupil. All right. Define that line a little bit because it's a little out of hand. Come underneath the lid. This is a very light touch here. I'm not trying to give her eyeliner. Just trying to make sure that the space is defined and considered. Very, 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 very light, thin, fine line. One of the tricks is if you're having trouble getting your pupils, is just make sure they're on the same line.
Yeah.
Just make sure they're looking the same place. So I have that there. Now she just needs some rosy cheeks and some freckles.
Yeah.
And the insides of her ears. So I'm going to go back and put the insides of her ears back. Those are actually just the dark brown that I made earlier, which is just the black and the brown.
Mm-hmm.
Just that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to come back. I can faintly see the line I had before.
We have more people from Sweden coming in. I dig it. I love everybody coming in from Sweden and Australia. It's just been tickling me so much to see all you guys. So, hi.
They have some cool stuff coming.
Yeah.
The blue koala will be soon.
Well, I've been into the High Chaparral of Sweden and the sort of outback, sort of spaghetti western stuff from Australia as well. So, I just they're really cool stuff out there. So.
Sounds like so ready to travel.
I am.
I'm so ready to travel. I'm going to enforce that dark line around the eye. That's just a personal choice that I'm making. This is a good time just to make sure that things are symmetrical. Right? Now, I'm going to get my number 8 brush out again, my number 8 bright.
Your number 8?
And I'm going to mix a slightly rosier tone. So I'm going to come over with the Alizarine Crimson into the yellow ochre as we've been doing this whole painting, but I'm going to make it a little bit rosier. Alright, I'm going to add some white to that, trying not to get my blue into the mix. It needs to be quite light, but still quite rosy.
Right.
See how this is going. So we're going to come here. And maybe even a little rosier than what I have. I have to go get some more alizarin. I want it to be just rosy right here. And the trick will be that it needs to be somewhat thin and sort of show what's underneath. I like to take this right up to the eye. I have a very light touch here. I'm really making the glaze work for me. I'm going to come on this side of the nose and use this color to sort of lighten the shadow that I have here. You could also leave it dark because it looked actually pretty nice, but it's your preference. I'm using my glazing liquid now, which is giving me a very see-through. This is what glazing is for, because I can just tint it. And I can get these rosy cheeks like I wanted. And not have to work so hard. You can do this with a dry brush. And if it gets away from you, just come back with a skin tone, right? And blend it back. Don't stress about it. See I'm doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to also come and add a little highlight. I'm going to take this skin tone color with a little more white on it. And I'm going to come here along the nose and add this little bit of highlight here. Needs to be more translucent. Just a little bit. And if at any point, like pushing like a piece forward for the design, but you're like, no, I'm real happy, go ahead and stay in your happy space.
Now, are we going to be coming back here afterwards to do some...
Yeah, we're going to show how to do some lettering on here or some spider webbing, or you could even add... I mean, there's a lot you could add, but one thing you just have to figure out what you want to add to the piece.
Gotcha.
If you want to, even. Like, you may enjoy this calm space. We still have to add freckles and a dragonfly pin, though.
Do you?
Yeah. Freckles are the black-brown color, right, that you had from earlier. And I like to use my glazing medium. You could use gel medium if you had no glazing, because what you're trying to do is create a thin, transparent layer of color.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to come just with my number 2 shader and just put in these light, see how they're almost see-through?
Mm-hmm.
Little freckles. Just a little bit here and there. See some freckles. Just light. And I'm just using the shape of the shader to help me with that. So I got my little Caroline's freckles in, and now I'm going to give her her pin, which is the black and blue mixed together, and some white. I'm going to make kind of a silvery gray. And so her pin, a little more white here, is a little ball, like a little pea-sized ball, and then a little round oblong. Thorax comes down to a point for the dragonfly. Keep pulling the color out with the white. And then I'm going to do leaf kind of shape wings.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2. 1, 2. And I like to add a little dab of Alizarine Crimson in there. We're almost actually done, guys. A reflection in this, and we're done.
Ooh, I'm going to move up the time then.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Oh, nothing. We have that. I'm just setting up the schedule for the after show.
All right. I'm going to pull some white out and just highlight a little bit of the wings, the head, just a couple little bits of the pin here. See how that creates a nice finished piece to it?
Yeah.
Let the paint kind of blend in through there. There's her little pin. Rinse out your brush quite well. And I'm going to pull just on my number 2 shader on the tip here. I'm going to show you how it's just right on the tip of the brush, right? Just barely on this tip.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make just one little reflection. Another little reflection. Doesn't she just come to life then?
Oh, yeah. Where you at? I'm going to go back over and look at that in the wide camera.
All right. Now, the last thing. What's our last thing?
Yeah, sign it.
Sign it. And I'll put out some fluid white paint because I'm going to use a very fine brush. I'm going to use this stuck to my other brush 10/0 liner. I was about to do something you're never supposed to do, so I don't want to give a bad example. Sometimes I do what's called mouth sizing, but I paint with enough CADs I shouldn't. And I'm going to just very carefully, and I think I'm going to add a little blue to it. I don't like my signatures to stand out in a ridiculous or garish way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a preference. It's not right or wrong. That's just how I am. So sometimes I like to put them in clever places because the person has to consider what I did. Every element of a piece that I do, they have to consider. And so I like to just think about it a little bit.
Oh, there's lots of people asking about where we've traveled and things like that. We'll go over that in some of in the after show today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to come back in the after show. I'm going to show you how to either put a web with a needle dropping down off of a spider web, or put in the words "I am brave."
Ooh.
If you'd like to finish that, because I know a bunch of these are going to be gifts.
Yes.
And of course you can customize it way past this, but I'm just going to show you a couple options. I hope you like her. I hope you're in love with her. Actually, I think the second paint even came out better than the first one. Thank you very much for joining me today for Coraline. I hope you're loving your painting. Meet me right back here and I'll show you some cool tricks to finish these pieces out. So coffee break time, and meet me back here in just a second.
We love you guys.
See you soon.